Imagine a moment so powerful that it changes everything. Did you know a single story can change an entire country? Sometimes one event makes people realize things need to change. That's exactly what happened in this story. It's a story that made many people very sad, but it also made them determined to make a difference. This one event didn't just affect the people involved. It changed how an entire nation thinks and even led to new laws. Want to know what happened and why it was so important? Let's get into it. Please note that this story involves descriptions of extreme violence and may be disturbing to some viewers. Jyoti Singh Pandey was born in 1989 in a small town in Uttar Pradesh, India. She was the oldest of 3 children, and her parents, Badrinath Singh and Asha Devi, adored her. The family faced many challenges, including the loss of their first child, but Jyoti was a fighter from the start. Born prematurely, she spent her first month in intensive care, but she pulled through and grew up in a loving household. Her family eventually moved to South Delhi, where Jyoti pursued her education. She had big dreams of becoming a doctor, but due to financial constraints, she decided to study physiotherapy instead. She was enrolled in a college in Dehradun, far from her home, and worked hard to achieve her goals. Jyoti was determined to support her family and give them a better life. On December 16, 2012, Jyoti had just returned home to Delhi to look for an internship. She was excited to take a break from her studies and enjoy a night out at the movies with her friend, Avnindra Pratap Pandey. They went to see the film Life of Pi at a popular mall in Saket, about 30 minutes from her home. Jyoti and Avnindra were close friends, and although they had not discussed marriage, their bond was strong, and they often spent time together. After the movie, the pair found themselves struggling to find a way home. It was late, and transportation options were limited. They eventually decided to take a rickshaw to a nearby area where they hoped to catch a bus. Unfortunately, this decision would lead them into the hands of 6 men who were out for blood. Earlier that evening, 6 men were driving around South Delhi in a private bus with blacked-out windows. The group consisted of Ram Singh, his brother Mukesh, and their friends Akshay Thakur, Pawan Gupta, Vinay Sharma, and a minor whose name has been changed to Raju. These men were known for their unruly and violent behavior, and they were looking for trouble that night. When they spotted Jyoti and Avnindra standing by the roadside, they saw an opportunity. Raju called out to them, offering a ride, and the unsuspecting pair boarded the bus. The men charged them a small fare, but their intentions were far more sinister. Within minutes, Ram Singh began taunting Avnindra, and a fight broke out. The men overpowered him, beating him with a metal rod until he collapsed, bloodied, and was unable to move. Jyoti, terrified and desperate, tried to fight back, but the men were merciless. They dragged her to the back of the bus and took turns raping and assaulting her with the same rod. Once the men had finished their brutal attack, they threw the naked and bleeding couple out of the moving bus. As if this wasn't enough, they attempted to run them over before speeding away. Miraculously, Avnindra managed to pull them to safety, but their ordeal was far from over. For over 40 minutes, the couple lay on the roadside, begging for help as cars, bikes, and pedestrians passed by without stopping. Finally, someone called the police, but even then, precious time was wasted as the officers argued over jurisdiction. Jyoti and Avnindra were eventually taken to Safdarjung Hospital, where doctors immediately recognized the severity of Jyoti's injuries. But the nightmare was far from over. Jyoti's condition was critical. The savage attack had caused severe damage to her internal organs, and infection had already set in. She underwent multiple surgeries, but despite the doctor's best efforts, her chances of survival were slim. Jyoti, however, was determined to live. She even managed to speak to the police and provide them with details of the attack. Her bravery during this time was nothing short of remarkable. Despite the unbearable pain, she was focused on bringing her attackers to justice. Sadly, her condition worsened, and on December 26, 2012, she was transferred to a hospital in Singapore. It was there on December 29, 2012, that Jyoti Singh Pandey succumbed to her injuries. She was just 23 years old. Jyoti's death sparked outrage across India and the world. Protests erupted in major cities as people demanded justice and better protection for women. Jyoti was named Nirbhaya, meaning fearless, a symbol of the fight against sexual violence. Within days, the police had arrested all 6 men involved in the attack. The evidence against them was overwhelming, including Jyoti's own testimony, CCTV footage, and the men's blood-soaked clothing. The trial was fast-tracked, and by September 2013, 4 of the men had been sentenced to death. The juvenile Raju received the maximum sentence allowed under Indian law for a minor, 3 years in a reform facility. Jyoti's case led to significant legal reform in India. The Criminal Law Amendment Act of 2013 introduced stricter penalties for sexual violence, and new fast-track courts were established to handle such cases. However, many argue that these changes have not been enough. The justice system remains slow, and crimes against women continue to be a major issue in India. In March 2020, after years of legal battles and delays, the 4 men convicted of Jyoti's rape and murder were finally hanged. It was a small measure of justice for Jyoti and her family, but the pain of their loss remains. Jyoti Singh Pandey was a bright, ambitious young woman who had her whole life ahead of her. Her brutal murder shocked the world and brought attention to the urgent need for change in how societies protect women. While her story is one of immense tragedy, it also serves as a powerful reminder of the strength and resilience of women in the face of unimaginable cruelty. We hope Jyoti's story inspires all of us to continue the fight for justice and equality for women everywhere. Thank you for watching. If there's a case you would like us to cover, please send your request to crimesabroad@outlook.com. Please like, subscribe, and share this video to help keep Jyoti's memory alive and to support the ongoing battle against sexual violence.